Married to my sister's substitute, 6 months in, and he still refuses to touch me. Gradually, my heart cooled. I began to think about divorce. Then, by sheer coincidence, I overheard a conversation between him and his friends. Some people, someone scoffed, are horny as hell, yet keep forcing themselves to endure it, just because they're afraid of scaring their wife. Who that is? I won't say. Women can't resist temptation, another chimed in. Bro, if you keep this up, your wife's going to run off with someone else, and you'll be crying too late. The man being mocked merely took a calm sip of his drink. What I can't give her, he said lightly, someone else can. As long as she comes home after she's had her fun. At that, the group burst into laughter. Don't put on that generous act. If you've got the guts, stop posting sad questions on your alt account every day. My heart skipped. I immediately opened Graham's account. There it was, the pinned post. Finally married the one I've secretly loved for years. But I have an addiction. How do I give her a good experience without frightening her? Late at night. Once again, I took out the cool, lightweight nightdress I'd prepared and headed for Graham's room. After we got married, he'd been swamped with work. Not wanting to disturb me, he'd taken the initiative to move into the guest bedroom. By my count, we hadn't had any physical contact in 2 whole weeks. Graham had just stepped out of the shower. When he saw me sitting on the bed, his towel paused mid-motion. Why are you here? His tone wasn't exactly gentle. I looked him up and down. Graham had a great body, so good that even a bathrobe couldn't hide the fullness of his chest or the faint outline of his abs. With a high-bridged nose and long, elegant fingers, there was no way his looks, or his hardware, could be lacking. And yet, in half a year of marriage, I'd never truly experienced him. Unwilling to believe it, I went straight to the point. I came to sleep with you. No matter how he tried to dodge it. Tonight, I had to walk away satisfied. Graham froze for a moment. After taking in what I was wearing, he simply said, all right. That easy? I felt suspicious. When he walked over, he even looked a little flustered. Only one ambient night lamp remained lit at the bedside. Graham lay down, the faint chill of steam wrapping around him. My mind wandered. I slipped my arm around his waist. His entire body stiffened. A beat later, he lowered his gaze. His voice, low and obscure in the dark, brushed against my ears. Do you want me to help you? Before I could answer, he quickly pulled away and opened the drawer. The flutter in my chest instantly died. I didn't need to ask to know what he was about to do. Fulfilling a husband's duty. Just not with his body. Annoyance bubbled up. Every time. Always like this. It was like his crotch was locked shut, standing at attention, yet completely useless. The moment I saw the finger sleeves in his hand, my face darkened. I snatched them away and flung them at him. Help? Help my ass. You're rigid to death. What kind of help could you possibly give? Anger sharpened my voice. The night lamp cast a hazy glow, making it impossible to read Graham's expression. But I could feel it. His dark eyes fixed on me. Burning. Perhaps with a trace of confusion. The grievance I'd been holding back surged like a spring. I kept going. Graham, if you can't do it, just say so. You're not the only man in the world, I can find someone else. We were married. So why did it always feel like he was granting me a favor? His voice turned hoarse. That's not what I mean. And yet. He still didn't take the next step. Didn't cup my face. Didn't lean in to kiss me. The third time. I had been fully prepared to go further. And still, I was rejected. Disappointment settled in. I grabbed the jacket I'd just taken off, stood up. And slammed the door behind me hard enough to shake the walls. At my best friend's place. My phone kept vibrating. Aren't you going to answer it? Mary tilted her head and glanced at me. I tipped my head back and took a gulp of wine. The Capri cigarette burned my throat, leaving a bitter sting. I turned my phone off. What kind of crappy cigarettes did you buy? I complained hoarsely. One stick and my throat's wrecked. Mary laughed as she toyed with the cigarette pack. They look nice. She lifted it and waved it in front of my eyes. With just a few casual remarks, she coaxed everything out of me. I hadn't planned on hiding anything from her anyway. The real problem was the question that had been circling in my mind all along. Why won't Graham touch me? Maybe he doesn't like women? Mary suggested. I shook my head. Back in high school, Graham had dated girls. Plenty of men and women had thrown themselves at him over the years, every single one had been turned down. A thought surfaced. I narrowed my eyes. Maybe he's keeping himself pure for my sister, the one who ran off to Europe. There had long been rumors that Graham liked the gentle, refined eldest daughter of the Lee family. Now that I thought about it, it all seemed to line up. This marriage had never been meant for me. The one who was supposed to marry Graham was my sister. But for the sake of her so-called soulmate, she abandoned everything, ran overseas with that artist. Graham was a gentleman, courteous and restrained. In the 6 months since our marriage, he had never refused any of my requests, except that one. Even when he helped me, when I was clearly caught up in desire, he always looked cool and controlled. There wasn't a trace of lust in his eyes. Like an outsider observing from afar. Did he find me disgusting? The thought detonated in my mind. The grievance I'd managed to suppress surged back all at once. Clang. I slammed my glass onto the table. I've made up my mind. Mary jumped. About what? Divorce. A useless man, no matter how handsome, was still trash that needed to be kicked to the curb. Especially when his heart clearly belonged to someone else. Kathy, wasn't lacking men. All right. Stop drinking. Mary thought I was drunk and dragged me off to shower. She'd just gotten her nails done and tossed and turned in her sleep. When I woke up the next morning, my neck was covered in red scratch marks. I turned my phone back on. Messages flooded in. All from Graham. When I returned to the villa and saw that he was home, I was genuinely surprised. The air was thick with the smell of smoke. The ashtray on the coffee table was filled to the brim with cigarette butts. He lifted his gaze. His sharp, striking features hit with full force. You're back. His voice was hoarse. When his eyes landed on the faint marks on my neck, his pupils shrank abruptly. The light in his eyes dimmed almost instantly. I hadn't slept well at Mary's place, and the cigarettes had wrecked my throat. I had no patience to deal with him. Just as he was about to speak, I waved him off and said in a dry voice, I'm exhausted from last night. I'm going upstairs. I wasn't joking. I really was planning to divorce Graham. A marriage without sex was an unhappy one. That night, of all nights, I came down with a fever. My body felt heavy, my head was foggy. The door opened. Graham had just showered. The sharp scent of mint flooded my senses, almost drowning me. I frowned and pushed him away. Leave me alone. His body stiffened. Then who should take care of you? His voice was low. Restrained, coaxing. Be good. Take the medicine. You'll feel better. His cool fingertips brushed my lips. The fingers resting at his side clenched suddenly. As he stared at my reddened, slightly parted lips, his breathing grew heavier. I didn't notice. Feeling uncomfortable in his arms, I turned my head toward the bed. Enough. Go out. In my haze, I heard water rushing in the bathroom. It sounded like Graham was taking another shower. When I woke up again, I was completely wrapped in Graham's arms. The unmistakable change against my thigh was impossible to ignore. Warm breath brushed my ear. Graham had just woken up too, groggily pressing his hand to my forehead. Still a little warm. Looks like the fever hasn't fully gone down. I snapped awake. That's because you teased me. I bent my elbow, trying to push him away. Only for him to catch my waist precisely. Rough fingertips traced over my skin. A jolt of numb pleasure shot through me, and I couldn't stop a soft moan. Kathy. He murmured my name, his voice low and husky, laced with a dangerous allure. Should we try? Under normal circumstances, I would have accepted without hesitation. But after last night, something in me recoiled. To me, this felt like a slap followed by a piece of candy. Charity. Fresh off an illness, my body was drained. I turned cold and refused. I can't handle it. The man behind me went pale in an instant. His breathing turned uneven. Graham retreated just far enough. He didn't say a word. When I turned around, I saw him staring at me, eyes dark, a bitter smile tugging at his lips. This is my fault, he said quietly. I don't blame you. I snorted. At least he had some self-awareness. But can you not push it this far next time? I added. Being sick is miserable enough. Graham lowered his gaze, concealing his real emotions. Without waiting for my response, he stood up and went to fetch clothes from the wardrobe. Usually, he wore silk robes at home. Tonight, he had only a towel wrapped around his waist. Lean muscle, deep V-lines, everything on display. My eyes swept over his narrow waist and firm hips. My heart skipped a beat. But only briefly. Any attractive man standing there would have had the same effect. Graham handed me my clothes. I changed right in front of him without a second thought. As expected, he turned away immediately. His eyes never lingering for even a second. What I didn't know was, the moment I left the room, Graham went straight into my bathroom. A few days later, I noticed something strange. My clothes were disappearing. At first, I didn't think much of it. They weren't expensive, and I wasn't short on money. But over time, I realized that even the lace lingerie set Mary had bought me last week was gone. I couldn't make sense of it. There were no cameras in the house. No way to catch the pervert. At dinner one night, I finally mentioned it to Graham. We've got a thief in the house. He was sitting at the table, unhurriedly spreading butter on my slice of toast. At my words, his hand paused. Without lifting his head, his thin lips moved calmly. As if nothing in the world could shake him. What's missing? Underwear. I said it casually. I hadn't expected his hand to slip. The butter knife grazed the small mole on the web of his thumb, smearing butter in a mess. I narrowed my eyes at his unusual reaction. Why so nervous? I asked lightly. Don't tell me you're the thief? Graham fell silent for a few seconds. Then he let out a quiet laugh, his long eyes locking onto mine. What do you think? Before leaving for work, Graham always dressed meticulously. His eyesight wasn't bad, but he still wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, which only made his features look sharper. Now, behind those thin lenses, his dark pupils were colder than the sunlight outside. I scoffed inwardly. Think what? Graham was rigid, boring, and painfully proper. Besides, why would he steal my underwear? I changed the subject. What time are you coming back tonight? I have something to give you. The divorce papers were already prepared. Graham handed me the toast and replied instantly, as soon as you want me, I'll come back. He spoke fast. So fast I barely had time to process the sentence. His phone rang. The assistant waiting in the courtyard stepped forward with a briefcase, reminding him it was time. Graham left. I pressed a hand to my chest, where my heartbeat felt slightly off rhythm, then touched my inexplicably warm ears. I felt embarrassed and annoyed. Can't he just talk normally? Why does everything sound like flirting? After dinner, while I still had some free time, I went to the hospital. The doctor said my hormones were out of balance and suggested I find a man to regulate them. The moment Mary heard that, she went into full emergency mode, insisting on lending me the 8-pack of Model and the big-chested Wolf dog from her company. At the time, I was sitting under the air conditioner, sketching the line art for my comic. My mind was completely absorbed in how to perfect the character design. So I rejected her on the spot. She hit me where it hurt. Then why have you been breaking out lately? Instant cardiac arrest. I viciously cursed Graham in my head again. 2 pimples. Right on my chin. Home flowers can't compare to wild ones, Mary coaxed. And you two are about to divorce anyway, why not give it a try? I paused my pen and thought about it. Coincidentally, I had no inspiration for a supporting character's face. I could use them as references. Just looking. No touching. It was just excess male hormones. Once I got divorced, I could find him 80, or 100, men. But not now. This wasn't cowardice. This was having high moral standards. I didn't casually lust after men. Mary laughed twice, clearly unconvinced of my self-control. I was extremely confident. Right up until I finished my drawing and went to sleep. That was when reality slapped me hard. I had an outrageously erotic dream. In the dream, I was kissing someone endlessly. Our breaths tangled. The man's burning heat, mixed with wet, intimate sounds, dragged me deeper and deeper into endless waves. I lost myself in that unrestrained teasing. Drowned in shared pleasure. Teetering between bliss and ruin. Until I saw Graham's face, impossibly close. I jolted awake. My heart raced. I was drenched in cold sweat, still reeling from the aftertaste of the dream. My legs weak, I headed downstairs for water. Then suddenly, I heard several lazy, mocking voices coming from the living room. Some people, you know. They're horny as hell, yet force themselves to endure it all because they're afraid of scaring their wife. Who that is? I won't say. Graham's childhood friends were sprawled lazily across the sofa. Each held a drink, their tone dripping with teasing. Women can't resist temptation. Bro, if you keep this up, your wife's going to run off with someone else, and you'll regret it too late. They were used to speaking freely around Graham, never bothering with restraint. He merely lifted his glass and took a light sip. His handsome face revealed nothing. He said something, and the group burst into laughter. But I caught something off. They mentioned that Graham had a Weibo alt account, and that he posted on it often. Curiosity, and the desire to grab hold of Graham's weakness, drove me to act. Relying on memory, I typed in the username. Sure enough, an account appeared, with the same profile picture Graham used. The moment I clicked in, I saw a pinned post. I expected some typical male nonsense. Instead, I froze. It read, "Finally married the one I've secretly loved for years. But I have an addiction. How do I give her a good experience without frightening her?" The next post, "The world is full of temptations. She thinks I'm boring, my fault for being useless. If I please her like this, will she reject me?" Attached were photos of a maid outfit and a dog collar with a bell. In an instant, my blood boiled. The Graham I knew was aloof, restrained, coldly abstinent. I could never have imagined that his other side was repressed, insecure, and quietly unhinged. My first reaction was that I'd clicked the wrong account. So I kept scrolling. It felt like peeking into something forbidden. Crispy Shark, couldn't hold back again, went into her bathroom several times. If she finds out I'm the one who took her missing underwear, she'll definitely hate me, right? I don't want her to dislike me. I despise myself. So many clothes ruined, maybe not touching her is the right choice. Last time I walked around shirtless in front of her. I don't know if I tempted her at all. Damn that towel, she couldn't even see that I tattooed her name on my lower abdomen. Today she said the house had a thief. I looked calm on the outside, but I was panicking inside. I didn't dare tell her that the thief was me. It hurts so much. I don't want to cry and call your name in my dreams anymore. I just want to say, Kathy, please look at me. My world collapsed. The more I read, the more my hands trembled. Shock, disbelief. All of it twisted into raw excitement. My missing underwear was taken by my frigid, abstinent husband? Graham had an addiction? And he actually liked me? Then what the hell had he been pretending for these past 6 months? That explosive, fireworks-like thrill nearly swallowed me whole. Damn it. I was going to grab this repressed bastard and deal with him right now. I pocketed my phone and rushed downstairs. My slippers slapped loudly against the floor. At the same moment, the doorbell rang. Inside the living room, Graham's friends' chatter died the instant they saw 2 handsome men arriving late at night. They exchanged looks. Someone muttered, "Holy shit." My heart sank. Of all times, the 8-pack model and the big-chested wolf dog Mary had lent me showed up. "Sis, we're here." The 2 men spotted me immediately and waved enthusiastically. Ignoring everyone's stunned stares, they jogged right over. "We're here on behalf of Sis Mary, to keep you company." The moment they spoke, the expressions in the room shifted dramatically. Someone glanced lightly at Graham and murmured, "Bro, see? Didn't I say women can't resist temptation?" 2 at once, "Guess you really starved your wife, huh?" They were too far away for me to hear clearly. All I wanted was to get rid of Mary's gifts as fast as possible. "How much did Mary pay you?" I whispered. "I'll double it. Just leave." I had no idea that, from the angle of the people on the sofa behind us, the scene looked intimate. As if I didn't care about my husband at all. As if I were completely absorbed in the joy of handsome men delivering midnight comfort. "Sis, let us stay and play with you," the model said, winking flirtatiously. "We've got lots of tricks and positions, guaranteed satisfaction." My scalp tingled. I glanced back and saw Graham staring at me, his gaze dark and heavy. He always wore that restrained, unreadable expression. And right now, I couldn't tell whether he was upset or not. If I hadn't just seen his alt account, I might really have dragged those 2 upstairs out of spite. But now, what I wanted was Graham's reaction. If he would just step forward. Show even the slightest hint of displeasure as a husband. I'd kick everyone out immediately and spend the night alone with him. But 30 seconds passed. Graham didn't move. His eyes were unfocused, brows tightly knit. Lost in his own storm of emotions. Pain. Struggle. Resignation. Finally, he stood. His gaze settled on me, flat and distant. Lips pressed tight, he asked, "So, this is what you wanted to talk to me about?" I didn't respond in time. Then he said stiffly, "Since you have guests, make sure you entertain them well." Not just me. Even his friends were stunned. "Bro, wow. That's some impressive generosity for a Maine wife." They whispered among themselves, "This isn't having fun and coming home. This is bringing the fun home." My mouth twitched. I wanted nothing more than to slap Graham twice across the face. I was furious. And yet, I forced a bright, delighted smile. "Of course, husband. I'll be sure to take very good care of my guests." "Great. Just great. You pretentious bastard. Let's see how long you can keep pretending." Inside the room, the 2 men Mary had arranged stood at the doorway, tall and long-limbed. Before long, both of them had taken off their shirts. Then they strode right up to me without hesitation. "Sis, where should we start?" My attention, however, was completely fixed on Graham's room next door. Witnessing this so-called spectacle, I was genuinely shocked. Mary's people really were just as wild as she was. Non-consensual viewing, I waved frantically. "Put them back on, put them back on." I realized they might have misunderstood something and immediately explained. "You're just here for me to look at, okay? There's no need to do anything real." "But Director Lynn said you needed to draw nudes," one of them replied seriously. "She told us to take everything off. If you have a preferred pose, sis, we'll cooperate fully." Me. So I was the only one who'd gotten the wrong idea. "Is it that you're not satisfied with our physiques?" one of them asked cautiously. Satisfied? Very. It was just that. I cleared my throat, scanned their faces once more, then asked, "Mary told you to listen to me, right?" They both nodded. "Then, can you 2 kiss?" "Huh? Well, something had to happen, didn't it?" We'd been in here for quite a while now, and there was still no reaction from the room next door. When they noticed my eyes darting sideways again and again, realization dawned almost instantly. With impressive perceptiveness, they nodded. Got it. Mission guaranteed. 1 minute later. The two models began to fool around without restraint. Before long, the atmosphere in the room hit peak ambiguity. Caught between the two overzealous performers, I couldn't help laughing a few times. Then, a knock sounded at the door. Graham stood there with damp hair, his gaze lowered, looking like a dejected puppy. He was holding a plate of cut fruit. He didn't speak. Just quietly swept his eyes over me. My nose. My cheeks. My collarbones. When his gaze landed on my gossamer thin top, the light in his eyes dimmed slightly. I found his silent, restrained fury oddly amusing. So I teased him. Want to come in and join us? The composure Graham had forced onto his face nearly cracked. His fingers tightened around the porcelain plate. In a casual tone, he said, I'd like to borrow your bathroom. Borrow again. With his hair this wet and that familiar body wash scent still clinging to him. Did he really think I couldn't tell he'd already showered? Still, I didn't refuse. I stepped aside. Go ahead. In addition to the fruit plate, Graham was also holding a small bag whose contents I couldn't see. Once inside, his gaze sharpened as it fell on the two men sitting on the sofa. They were clearly worn out, faces flushed, clothes disheveled, breathing uneven. When he noticed the rumpled bedsheets, his fist clenched abruptly. It took a long moment before he reined in that intimidating look and walked into the bathroom. The door closed. Both models' shoulders trembled. Holy shit, sis, your husband's look just now, it felt like he was about to kill us. From behind, I hadn't been able to see Graham's expression clearly. Hearing that, I raised an eyebrow slightly. That's enough for today. You can leave now. Got it, got it. We wish you a very happy night, sis. Yes. I hoped so too. The sound of running water filled the bathroom. I changed the bedsheets, then drifted toward the bathroom door. Nothing. With nothing else to do, I collapsed onto the sofa and opened Graham's Weibo. Only then did I realize. He'd updated his account more than 10 minutes ago. Crispy Shark, she actually called me her husband. But the guilt after her cheating terrifies me. I want her to keep calling me that. Yet I'm afraid she'll keep looking for others. The laughter next door is so loud. Is it that I'm too boring, or that I gave her too much freedom? Enough for her to lose herself among those wild grasses outside? I'm going insane. How far have they gone? Why do those two bastards get her attention? I can do it too. I can even do it to her satisfaction. It hurts too much. I don't want to endure it anymore. I'm going to please her right now. Even if she cries, I won't stop. I'm going to punish her, hard. By the time I reached the last line, I shuddered violently. A soft sound suddenly came from the bathroom. Then Graham's voice followed. Kathy, could you help me grab the towel by the door? Only then did I realize he'd left it outside before going in. On purpose, wasn't it? I clicked my tongue and knocked, fully aware. A wet forearm extended through the crack. Then the door opened wider. Graham stood inside the bathroom, tall and imposing, cold air rushing out. The moment I saw the maid outfit clinging to his bare chest, my eyes nearly popped out of my head. At home, Graham usually wore either loungewear or suits. The former was relaxed, the latter impeccable. Both carrying his signature cool, restrained elegance. But now, the provocative outfit, paired with eyes clouded by mist, gave him an inexplicably indecent air. The impact was intense. I almost couldn't look away. Suppressing the urge to shove him down, I waved the towel in my hand. You're already dressed. Do you still need this? Yes. He took my hand directly and used it to wipe the water droplets from his chest. Soft. Springy. Clearly new to this, Graham's handsome face was stiff with awkwardness. Seeing that I didn't resist, he tugged me inside. What husbands and wives do shouldn't be done out there, he said quietly. Others might see. Who would see? It clicked a second later. Oh, Mary's two models. I didn't tell him they'd already left. I wanted to see what he was planning. The bathroom wasn't small. A faint chill lingered in the air. Graham hadn't used hot water. His body was cool as well. Beneath my warm palm, a powerful heartbeat thudded steadily. There's actually something I want to show you, he said. I had a faint suspicion of what he meant. Sure enough, the next second, he guided my hand downward. Past his sharply defined abs, to his lower abdomen, where veins subtly stood out. Do you feel it? The scorching heat beneath my fingers made my head spin. Flustered, I blurted out instinctively, it's perky. Graham's breath hitched. I meant the tattoo, he said hoarsely. It has your name. Oh. I see. I feigned shock. Then take it off. Let me look. The old Graham would have refused without hesitation. But now. This suggestion was exactly what he wanted. In a few swift movements, he stripped off the carefully prepared maid outfit and pinned me against the sink. I'm actually not bad, he murmured. Want to give me a try? I didn't answer. Graham grew impatient. The hand gripping my waist tightened, his lips crashed down, urgently prying my teeth apart. His breath was burning hot. Kathy, he whispered, voice rough, don't play with them. Play with me. When Graham finally took the initiative. How hard it was for Graham to finally take the initiative. Even as the heat built inside the bathroom, that thought still crossed my mind. My lips were suddenly covered tightly by his palm. The man behind me was sweating lightly, droplets dampening my neck and shoulders. Keep your voice down, he whispered hoarsely. There are people outside. If you know there are people outside, then don't go this hard. My vision blurred. I couldn't take it anymore. Change places, I gasped. It's too hot. No. There was a flicker of panic in Graham's voice. Did he think I wanted to go outside and keep playing? I felt my soul leave my body. They're gone. Those two were just models Mary found for me. Graham seemed to freeze for 2 seconds. Then he abruptly shifted, kicked the door open with one leg, scooped me up, and carried me out. He threw me down onto the bed and sealed my lips in a fierce kiss. If what came before had been a drizzle, this was a downpour. I'd never imagined Graham could be this dominant. My fingers raked down his back, leaving streaks of red, my tears nearly running dry. All he did was keep coaxing me softly. The little bell at Graham's neck rang the entire night. Faint birdsong crept in at dawn when his hand suddenly pressed against my lower abdomen. Did that person ever touch you here? Who? I was completely limp, my mind in shambles. All I could think about was how ruthless his punishment had been. You bastard, one more time and I'll die. Be good, he murmured. Just once more. I slept until the sun was high the next day. Graham was already gone. My waist ached, my body sore. I lingered in bed for a long while before my phone rang. It was Mary. I forced myself upright and answered. She clicked her tongue twice on the other end. So? My two little models said you were very happy last night. Thinking back on the disaster of the night before, my scalp tingled. A man who's been pent up for too long is dangerous. A man with an addiction? Even worse. My silence made Mary laugh. Not bad. You even know how to use other people to provoke him now. What, don't tell me that whole divorce talk was just playing hard to get. Only then did my mind clear a little. Right, the divorce agreement. I jumped out of bed and rushed to the vanity, only to find that the papers I'd left there last night were gone. My first thought was that Graham had taken them. But the situation was painfully awkward. We'd just been intimate last night, and now he'd know I wanted a divorce. I didn't dare imagine what he'd think of me. In the end, I tidied myself up and went straight to Chin Group. It was my first time there, yet the receptionist recognized me instantly and personally escorted me to the CEO's office. The secretary said Graham was inside and told me to go in myself. I hesitated, worried about interrupting his work. Then I thought, so what if I do? I'm his wife. After knocking twice, I pushed the door open. On the L-shaped sofa sat not only Graham, but also his childhood friends. Hearing the noise, they all looked over at once. When our eyes met, Graham's calm gaze wavered slightly. He stood and walked toward me. What brings you here so suddenly? All the lines I'd rehearsed on the way seemed to retreat in the face of his gentle tone. If he'd seen the agreement, shouldn't he be angry? Had he not seen it? Well, since sister-in-law is here, we won't disturb you, his friends said in unison as they stood. But the looks they gave me were strange. Like they were looking at a heartless woman. Uncomfortable, I waited until they left, then asked Graham directly, when you left this morning, did you see anything on my vanity? Graham was pouring me tea. His lowered lashes hid the emotions in his eyes. He answered calmly, just like before. Did something go missing? I studied him carefully. Still nothing unusual. Maybe the housekeeper had accidentally put it away. I shook my head and changed the subject, suggesting we go out to eat. After dinner, we went home, and I didn't leave the bedroom again. At first, I'd been skeptical of Graham's explanation, that he hadn't touched me because he was afraid of frightening me. But over these past few times, I'd gotten solid, undeniable proof of his addiction. We changed locations several times. My waist was nearly broken, and he was still tireless. More intense than last night. Yet laced with an indescribable tenderness. In my daze, I suddenly remembered my first meeting with Graham. Back then, my sister had just gone abroad, and I was sent in her place to talk things out with him. Everything had been explained clearly, yet that very night, Graham agreed to marry me. I'd assumed he'd simply been pressured too hard to marry. If not for his alt account, I never would have known he'd been secretly in love with me all along. Graham was good in every way. Except that he liked to keep everything locked inside his heart. As I was thinking about whether to pry his stubborn mouth open while I had the chance, I suddenly heard Graham ask, his voice hoarse, Kathy, are you happy you married me? I actually gave it some serious thought. I was pretty happy, I guess. I never had to worry about food or money. My husband was handsome, and we weren't short on cash. I was more than satisfied with Graham. If only he could rein himself in a little, then it would be perfect. But what I saw as contemplation looked like hesitation to Graham. He lowered his head and pressed a light kiss to the side of my neck, speaking to himself as he did so. I'm very happy. I never dreamed I'd be able to marry you. I also understand this: if one person in a marriage is unhappy, then it's no different from a grave. I don't want to bind you. He called my name seriously. Kathy, if what you want is freedom, I can let you go. I had no idea that, to Graham, this marriage felt like something he'd stolen. The moment I heard that tone, I knew something was wrong. I turned around immediately and asked with certainty, "Did you see the divorce agreement?" Graham pressed his lips together. His bangs, damp with sweat, drooped over his smooth forehead. Once again, I saw those familiar, aggrieved puppy dog eyes. That was something I had drafted when I was angry, I said quickly. I don't have that thought at all anymore. Why were you angry? Graham's focus was oddly misplaced again. I felt embarrassed and annoyed, poking his firm abs directly. You've got the nerve to ask? Who is it that, for half a year after marriage, refused to touch me no matter how many times I took the initiative? If a man has no feelings for a woman, doesn't that just mean he dislikes her? I only married you as a substitute. I thought the one you liked was my sister. Was I wrong to be angry? Graham, don't think I'll be reluctant just because you're handsome. There are plenty of men younger and better looking than you. If I really divorce you. My lips were suddenly sealed in a fierce kiss. Graham's breathing was rapid as he held me tightly in his arms. It's my fault. Don't be angry anymore. I never liked your sister. The reason I didn't touch you was just... He hesitated, clearly embarrassed. I had something hard to explain. Seeing him like this, my anger instantly faded by at least 3 parts. At home, Graham was practically like a little puppy. I ruffled the few loose strands of his hair and decided to be direct. Graham, do you like me? Unexpectedly, Graham didn't look shocked at all. Instead, he seemed to let out a heavy breath of relief. So you finally figured it out. Looks like I didn't hide it very well. I was speechless. You hid it too well. If it weren't for your alt account, we'd already be finished. But I didn't tell him that. Graham was in far too good a mood right now. After clinging to me for a kiss, he tried to carry me into the bathroom again. I thought you wanted a divorce because I wasn't good enough, he said seriously. I barely held back just now. Kathy, help me a little. Me? After a few leisurely days, Mary said I looked radiant from head to toe. Not only that, my inspiration for comics exploded. I stayed busy for nearly a week before finally having time to open Graham's Weibo again. There were only a few short posts. Crispy Shark, she knows I like her now. I'm very happy. I don't dare hope she'll fall in love with me quickly. I just hope she won't get tired of me so soon. In the year I loved her the most, I forgave her infidelity. Me? What was Graham imagining in his head now? Hadn't the model incident already been explained? I had a vague feeling there was something else going on. I snapped my laptop shut and headed upstairs. Graham was working out. He was already impressive enough, training even harder only made me look completely useless in bed. After admiring his smooth waistline and tightly flexed arm muscles for a while, I strolled over and handed him a towel. You're already great. No need to train so hard. Graham replied simply, a husband's physique is a wife's honor. My mouth twitched. Well then, I really was eating very well. While Graham went to shower, I waited outside the bathroom. When he was nearly dressed, I asked casually if he had anything he wanted to ask me. He came out wiping his hair, lifting his eyelids slightly. Ask what? That was just like Graham, so full of grievance inside, yet never revealing even a bit of it in front of me. If I were a little more heartless, I wouldn't even want to bother with him. So I said deliberately, I saw a saying today, take the one I love as my lover, and the one who loves me as my husband. I think it's a good idea. What do you think? Graham's expression changed instantly. No. What if I say I've already done it? A flash of hurt crossed his eyes. I know. But I don't blame you, it's just that people out there are too scheming. They deliberately tempted you away. But Kathy, he added softly, holding me, his voice flustered yet indulgent beyond reason, just this once, okay? Otherwise, I won't be able to take it. I almost laughed in anger. I pushed him away. You're so capable, then tell me. Who did I find? I don't know. Then how do you know I already did? Graham suddenly stared fixedly at my neck. There were still faint marks there, the ones he'd left a few days ago. His lips pressed tightly together. The night you didn't come home, there were marks on your neck. Your voice was hoarse. You even had a fever. I knew then. I tried to recall it. That day, I'd been at my best friend's place. But at the time, the state I'd been in did look rather suspicious. I explained everything clearly and gave him reassurance as well. It was just a misunderstanding. I would never do something as outrageous as cheating during marriage. On the other hand, you, Graham, you're a big shot, aren't you? On the negotiation table you talk eloquently, but when it comes to me, you can't say a single word? You just bottle everything up? Your mouth is for talking. If you're not going to use it, you might as well donate it. It's my fault, Graham said immediately when he realized I was angry. I was honestly at a loss, furious as I grabbed him and dragged him closer. Fault, 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 you always say it's your fault. Fine, what else are you hiding from me? Graham looked slightly embarrassed. There is, the missing underwear of yours. I took it. And I did inappropriate things with it. I'm sorry. Anything else? My planning your sister's sudden move abroad, that was also me. I froze. What did you say? I still remembered my gentle, soft-spoken sister before she went abroad. Crying her eyes out, nose running, tears everywhere. She said that no matter what, she had to return to Europe with that artist boyfriend. Only then would her life have no regrets. I'd even thought to myself, if the two of them were doing so well together, then if the family didn't approve, they could just settle down somewhere quietly. Why did they have to go abroad? Graham added quietly, I was just helping them fulfill their wishes, letting her run toward the happiness that belonged to her. When they left, I gave them 10 million. Strictly speaking, it was a transaction. To them, it was a transaction. But to me, it wasn't. Graham clearly realized that too, which was why his voice carried a hint of guilt. This was my fault. I've always known it. The reason I didn't touch you for so long wasn't just because I was afraid of scaring you, it was also because I was afraid you'd realize I married you deliberately, with ulterior motives, and that after taking something precious from you, you'd regret it. If you're unhappy after marrying me and want a divorce, I'll give you most of my assets. You won't lose out. But once. He paused, then said softly, Kathy, I don't want you to hate me. For people like us, children of prominent families, marriages of alliance were an inevitable path. To be honest, before marrying Graham, I had no dissatisfaction at all. I'd even felt fortunate. After all, with his looks, he easily outclassed a lot of men. But hearing him say this now, a warm feeling still welled up in my chest. I've never hated you, Graham. On the contrary, after spending so much time with you, I've seen many sides of you I never knew before. I don't really know what liking means, but I'm very happy when I'm with you. That's enough. Graham had strong desires when it came to material things, yet in love, he was surprisingly easy to satisfy. He murmured the words again, as if convincing himself, You're happy. That's enough. I laughed through my tears. Standing on tiptoe, I leaned in and kissed him. That night, we didn't do anything at all. We simply sat together on the home theater sofa, holding each other as we watched a movie. During the male lead's confession scene, I turned my head to look at Graham. By the way, when did you start liking me? Or rather, when did you start secretly falling for me? At my university graduation ceremony, he said. You held my hand for a moment. I stared at him in disbelief. That's it? Yes. Just that. I laughed, then swung a leg over his waist. You don't have a love-struck brain at all. This is clearly a Kathy-struck brain. Graham turned the tables and sealed my lips with his, not denying it. Yes, he said against my mouth. I'm completely Kathy-brained. I used to think marriage was a compromise. Something you endured, something you adjusted to. But now I know it can be this simple. A man who loves quietly, deeply, and a little foolishly. A home that feels warm even in silence. A future that doesn't need grand promises, just staying. Graham still overthinks. I still tease him for it. But every time he reaches for my hand, I know this wasn't a substitute marriage, nor a stolen happiness. It was always us. Finding our way to each other, one honest step at a time. And this time, I'm happy to stay.